Back in 2018, I was 17, still living with my parents in a two-story home just outside Springfield, Illinois. It was a pretty average neighborhood, not exactly the kind of place you'd expect anything creepy to happen. But what happened that November weekend still gives me nightmares. My parents had to leave for a family emergency. My grandma up in New York had a stroke, and my mom wanted to be by her side. They asked if I wanted to come, but I told them no. I had a bio final coming up, and I honestly just liked the idea of having the house to myself. Big mistake. They left early Friday morning, around 5 a.m. I was still half asleep when they kissed me goodbye. By the time I actually got out of bed, the house was totally quiet. Too quiet. But at first, I loved it. I made some Pop-Tarts, played Xbox, scrolled through TikTok for way too long. No rules, no noise, no interruptions. But that first night, something changed. It was around 9:40 p.m. I was lying on the couch watching Netflix when I heard the sound. 3 slow knocks coming from upstairs. They were distant but very clear. I muted the TV and just listened. Then, nothing. A few minutes later, it happened again. This time, it sounded like it was right outside my parents' bedroom. I grabbed a flashlight and crept upstairs. It was so quiet I could hear my own breathing. I opened their bedroom door slowly. My heart was beating out of my chest. But the room was empty. Everything looked normal. I even checked the closet and under the bed like some little kid. Still, nothing. I was about to laugh at myself when I glanced at the full-length mirror on the closet door. For a second, I swear I saw a figure behind me. A tall shadow. I turned around instantly. No one was there. I stood frozen for what felt like a full minute. Then I went back downstairs, turned all the lights on, and tried to act like I wasn't totally freaking out. I was finally starting to drift off on the couch when my phone buzzed. It was a notification from the home security app my dad had installed. Motion detected. Side door 3, 7 a.m. I sat straight up. The side door was right by the kitchen, maybe 20 feet from where I was sitting. I hadn't heard it open. I grabbed the knife from the drawer and tiptoed toward the kitchen. All the lights were still on. The side door was closed, locked, deadbolt in place. I looked at the security footage and saw nothing. No movement, no figure, not even a cat or a bug, just static for half a second. I told myself it was a glitch. Maybe a raccoon triggered it somehow. But I didn't sleep the rest of that night. The next morning, I tried to play it cool. I texted my mom, lied and said everything was fine. I studied a bit, played some Xbox again. But I didn't feel relaxed. All day I had that feeling like I was being watched. I kept looking over my shoulder like an idiot. That night, around midnight, things got way worse. I was lying in bed when I heard something in the hallway. A voice, whispering. It was a woman's voice, soft, but very clear. It said, "Ty, come open the door." I felt the blood drain from my body. I froze. I didn't move a muscle. I don't even know how long I laid there, holding my breath. But then I reached for my phone and I called 911. As soon as I hit the call button, the whisper stopped. Just gone. Like whoever was out there knew. The cops showed up fast, maybe 10 minutes later. They walked through the house, checked every room, every window. No signs of forced entry. No footprints. Nothing. One of the officers gave me this weird look and said, "Houses get weird when they're too quiet. Trust me." That night I stayed awake with the lights on. Didn't even bother trying to sleep. By Sunday morning, I noticed something I definitely remember locking. The attic door in the hallway, it was cracked open. I never go up there, neither do my parents. It's just insulation and boxes of Christmas decorations. But below the door, on the floor, were footprints. Small, dusty, barefoot. I just stood there, staring at them. Eventually, I grabbed the ladder and forced myself to look. I held my breath and peeked inside. Cobwebs, old boxes, dust. But in the far corner, I saw something new. A small pile of things. A baby blanket. A dirty hand mirror. And a photo frame. I picked it up. And inside was a photo of me, taken from outside the house. I dropped the frame and nearly fell off the ladder. I ran downstairs, locked every door, every window. Then my phone buzzed again. Motion detected. Upstairs hallway, 2:14 p.m. I opened the live camera feed. And what I saw still haunts me. Standing at the top of the stair was a girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old, in a white dress. Just standing there, still, staring directly at the camera. Then she smiled and slowly waved, then walked out of view. That was just the beginning. I didn't leave the house, I stayed. And what happened that final night goes way beyond a haunting. Let me make one thing clear. After I saw that girl on the camera, I should have left. I wanted to. I grabbed my backpack. I even had my hand on the front door. But something in me, some dumb mix of curiosity and fear, made me stay. I kept thinking, what if it was just a glitch, a weird dream, a prank? But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I didn't leave the house that whole day. I couldn't focus, couldn't eat. Every creak, every gust of wind made me jump. But it was the mirror that finally broke me. The one in the upstairs hallway across from the bathroom. Around 5:43 p.m., I walked past it and caught a glimpse of that same girl standing behind me. But this time, she wasn't still. She was screaming, mouth wide open, like she was trying to yell through glass. I spun around. Nothing was there. I looked back at the mirror. It was just me again. I backed away, slowly, ran downstairs, and turned on every single light in the house. And that's when I realized every mirror was facing the hallway. Every single one. I texted my mom again. No answer. I even called her. Went straight to voicemail. So I called the only person I trusted, who lived nearby, my best friend Marcus. Marcus lived 2 streets over, and thankfully, he picked up on the first ring. I didn't even try to play it cool. I just said, "No, dude, something's in my house. Please come over." He didn't ask a ton of questions. He just said he'd be there in 10. And for the first time all weekend, I felt kind of safe. I sat in the kitchen and waited. Watched the front door, checked my security feed. Nothing strange. Until the power cut out. Every light, every outlet, gone. Just a deep, cold silence. I grabbed a flashlight and stood frozen in place. The silence was deafening. Then, from upstairs, I heard it again. 3 knocks, then a pause. Then again, knock, knock, knock. This time I didn't go up. I didn't move. I stood there, staring at the ceiling, trying to breathe quietly. And then, she started humming. That same girl. A soft, creepy, off-key humming coming from the attic vent. I dropped the flashlight. And that's when Marcus started knocking on the door. I flung the door open and yanked him inside. I didn't even let him ask questions, I just told him everything. He believed me way faster than I expected. Probably because of how freaked out I looked. I showed him the photo I found in the attic, the one of me taken from outside the house. Then I showed him the security clip. When the girl appeared, he backed away from my phone and said, "Ty, I saw that girl before." I blinked. "What do you mean?" "At the bus stop, weeks ago. She was just standing in front of your house, and like she lived here or something." I asked if he was sure, and he nodded, dead serious. She was wearing that same dress. We decided to do a full sweep of the house together, every closet, every room. When we got to the hallway closet under the stairs, something smelled off. It wasn't mold or garbage. It was sweet and sour, like something rotting with perfume. We pulled everything out, shoes, jackets, umbrella stand. Then we noticed a warped board at the back of the closet. Marcus grabbed a screwdriver and started prying it off. Behind it was a small, hidden compartment. And inside that compartment was a dress. White and stained, old, crumpled up like someone had stuffed it there in a panic. But that's not the worst part. Next to the dress was a small music box. Marcus opened it. And the second he did, that humming sound we heard upstairs started playing again. The exact same tune. Soft, eerie, out of tune. He slammed it shut. I wanted to throw it away, but Marcus said no. We needed to know more first. He took pictures of everything, and we decided to do some research online. What we found freaked us out. There was an old news article, a missing girl, same neighborhood, same block. Claire Henson, disappeared in 1993, 8 years old. Last seen wearing a white dress. The article said she vanished from her backyard, only a few doors down from where we lived. No witnesses, no suspects. The case went cold. But a year later, 1994, the house was sold cheap to a new owner. That house was ours. My hands were shaking. I felt like I couldn't breathe. But then I remembered something. My mom told me once that they renovated this house before moving in. They removed wallpaper, painted the walls, and replaced some floors. But they never touched the attic or the crawl space. Marcus and I climbed back up with better flashlights. This time, we went all the way in. In the far corner, the one where I found the photo, we saw a second hatch. It was smaller, metal, and bolted shut. Marcus started loosening the bolts while I held the light. And then, beneath the hatch, we found bones. Tiny, human. Wrapped in the same baby blanket I'd seen earlier. I nearly threw up. Marcus backed away, hands shaking. We both knew what we were looking at. We didn't wait. We called 911 and told them everything. They arrived fast, way faster than before, this time with more cars and more serious expressions. They took the remains. They asked a million questions. They took the music box, the photo, the dress, and finally, they left. The power came back later that night. But I didn't sleep, neither did Marcus. We sat in silence until the sun came up. My parents got back the next day. They didn't believe the whole story until the police called them. Until the detective confirmed what we'd found. Turns out Claire Henson had never been found, until now. They matched the baby blanket with photos from her case file. But the creepiest part? The music box. It wasn't manufactured until 1997, 4 years after she disappeared. That was the second night I stayed home alone. There won't be a third. I didn't think it could get worse. After the police left and the remains were taken, I honestly thought everything was over. They even said it themselves, we'd helped solve a decades-old cold case. We did the right thing. But what they didn't tell me What nobody prepared me for. Is that when you disturb something that's been hidden that long? Sometimes it doesn't leave quietly. My parents were finally back, that Marcus had gone home, that the police said there was no longer a threat. But I still couldn't sleep. I laid in bed, just listening. And sometime close to midnight, I passed out. And that's when the dreams started. Except, they didn't feel like dreams. I was standing in the attic again. Same dust, same insulation. But this time it looked different. Older. Like it hadn't been touched in 50 years. There was no flashlight in my hand, no phone, no sound. But I could hear crying, soft, broken, coming from the corner. I turned around and saw Claire. She wasn't a ghost. She looked real, like a living, breathing child. She was holding the music box and whispering the same words over and over. Not just me, not just me. Her head slowly turned toward me, her eyes completely black. I woke up gasping. The dream only lasted seconds. But when I looked at the clock, 3 hours had passed. I sat up in bed, still shaking. And then I heard it. Scratching. Behind the wall, right next to my nightstand. It wasn't rats. It wasn't wind. It was scraping like tiny fingernails against drywall. I pressed my ear to the wall and held my breath. And then I heard a voice. Whispered. Hoarse. Male. She wasn't the first. I jumped back so fast I knocked over my lamp. My dad stormed into the room asking what was going on. I told him what I heard, what I'd seen in my dream. He told me it was stress, trauma, that I needed rest. But I knew I wasn't imagining it. Something was still in that house, and it wanted to be found. I went to the local library the next afternoon. Old newspaper records, property logs, death records. What I found chilled me to the bone. Our address, 314 Winterfield Avenue, wasn't just where Claire Henson disappeared. It was part of something way darker. The house had 3 previous owners before us, and 2 of them lost children under unexplained circumstances. All girls, all under the age of 10. In each case, there were signs of the child sleepwalking, scratching the walls, humming. Just like Claire. Just like I heard. And worse. Every owner since 1954 had reported strange mirrors shattering in the home. One article from 1971 mentioned a mirror room in the original floor plans. A sealed-off part of the house. That room doesn't exist anymore. At least not visibly. But I had a theory. I came back home and searched every wall on the 2nd floor. Tapping. Listening. And finally, behind the linen closet in the hallway, I heard a hollow echo. There was space back there. I pulled the shelves out and pulled the drywall away. Behind it was a wooden door, tiny. No knob, no hinges. But etched into the wood was a name, Eloise. I had never heard that name before. Not Claire. Not in any article. I asked my parents, neither of them knew anything. But when I told Marcus, his face went pale. He said, Ty, that's my mom's name. I laughed at first, thinking he was joking. But he didn't laugh back. She grew up around here. Always told me she had bad dreams as a kid. Said she saw a little girl in white who'd stand in her mirror. I asked if she ever lived in our house. He said no. But her older sister did. In the 1980s. She died of a drug overdose in our attic. Her name? Rachel Henson. Claire's aunt. Suddenly it all made sense. Claire didn't just disappear in our neighborhood. She was lured back. Because whatever was inside that house, whatever was using mirrors, music, walls, it was tied to the Henson bloodline. That meant Claire was only part of the story. And we weren't even close to the end. That night, the power went out again. Every room, every floor. But this time, I was ready. I had candles, flashlights, backup batteries. I lit the hallway and walked toward the linen closet where I'd found the hidden door. And as I stood there, flame flickering, the mirror across the hallway cracked. Just a single line, running top to bottom. Then a handprint appeared in the dust. Small, childlike, on the inside of the glass. I backed up, my whole body trembling. And then from behind me, she said not to open the door. I turned around slowly, and Claire was standing there again, pale, quiet, eyes black. She pointed at the hidden door, then faded, gone. I had a choice. I could call someone, pretend it was over, or I could finish what I started. I grabbed a hammer and started breaking the wall down completely. The door behind it creaked and slowly opened. Inside, a small room, lined with mirrors, all cracked, all facing inward, like some kind of reflection trap. In the center of the room was a rocking chair, rocking, on its own. I stepped inside, and the door slammed behind me. That was the third night I stayed in that house. And I swear to God, it wasn't just Claire in those mirrors anymore. Some houses were built to be homes. Others were built to be traps. I didn't realize until it was too late that mine was both. When the door slammed shut behind me, everything went still. The sound of the house, the creaks, the floorboards, even the wind stopped. All I could hear was the sound of that chair creaking back and forth. Back and forth. Back and forth. I tried the door, locked tight. I shined my flashlight around the room. There were 7 mirrors all arranged in a circle. Some were cracked, others fogged. One of them was completely black, no reflection at all. And in each one, I saw a different version of myself. Some crying, some screaming. One of them just standing there, grinning, not blinking. And then I saw her, in every mirror at once. Claire. But she wasn't alone anymore. Behind her, in the fog of the mirror, was something else. It looked human, but wrong. Its arms were too long. Its face was blurred, shifting, like it couldn't pick one identity. I tried to back up, but no matter where I stepped, my reflection stayed still, not copying me, just watching. Then the mirrors started humming. Not the room, the mirrors themselves. That same music box tune, warped and slow. And one by one, the other reflections of me began to vanish. Except for the one that was grinning. He stepped forward inside the glass, as if the mirror had depth. Then he raised one hand and placed it on the inside of the mirror, right where mine would go. He opened his mouth like he was going to speak, but instead of sound, smoke came out. Black smoke. It curled against the glass like it was alive. I backed away, shaking. "What do you want?" I whispered. And from the mirror behind me, I heard a voice. Deep, not human. Like 1,000 voices layered together. "We want you to remember." Suddenly, I wasn't in the mirror room anymore. I was outside. Middle of the night. Snow falling. Except it wasn't now. It was 1993. And I was watching Claire playing in her backyard under a porch light. Then I saw a man walk up to her from the shadows. He was tall, pale, dressed in black. Claire looked up at him and smiled like she knew him. She took his hand, and he led her straight into my house, into the basement. Then everything went dark again. When I came to, I was lying in the mirror room. The rocking chair was still creaking, and now, on the wall, there was writing carved in, over and over. "It's in the walls. It's in the walls. It's in the walls." I started pounding on the door, screaming. Eventually it opened, but not by me. Marcus was on the other side, holding a crowbar. He'd broken in after I stopped answering my phone for hours. I collapsed into him, shaking. "We have to check the basement," I told him. "Now." The basement had always creeped me out, but this time it was different. The air felt thicker, and one part of the wall, the far corner, looked wrong. It wasn't stone like the rest. It was wood paneling. Marcus helped me pry it open. Behind it was a sealed crawl space, and inside, photos. Dozens of them, of different kids, all ages, all girls. And all of them had one thing in common. They were wearing white dresses. We handed everything over to the police again. They brought cadaver dogs, forensic techs, ground radar. They found 3 bodies behind the foundation of our basement. All of them were little girls, and not one of them was Claire. The police told us what they found after running tests. The man in the memory, the one who took Claire. His name was Gerald Henson, Rachel's father, Claire's grandfather. He was the original owner of the house in the 1950s. But he didn't just own it. He built it. Every beam, every pipe, every wall. And in every single mirror, he'd carved a symbol on the back. A symbol they believe was part of a ritual. That's why the mirrors were always watching. Why the voices came through walls. Why the music box didn't exist before Claire vanished. He'd turned the house into a binding place, a cage for souls. And me? I was just the next one to wake it up. We moved. My parents never speak of that weekend. The house was condemned, sealed off by the city. They said it was for structural instability. But I know the real reason. They couldn't let anyone else in. Because some houses aren't haunted. They're hungry. I still dream of mirrors. And sometimes I see my own reflection smile before I do.